It's 8:15 Eastern Time, the only time zone that didn't receive a show cause order this week. That means it's time for C2C Live, brought to you by CampusToCanton.com. On a newsworthy version of tonight's show, we're talking freshman starting quarterbacks, Arch Manning's future, and the hammer that wasn't dropped quite as hard as we thought this past week. All that and more right after the stinger. It's Austin, Nace and Matt Bruening here with you tonight. Thanks for tuning in with us here. Guys, if you're following us, watching us here live on the YouTube channel, why don't you go ahead, drop a like on the video, and subscribe to the channel while you're here. Help us grow this college fantasy community as we've been trying to do over the past few years. And if you're listening on podcast, leave us a review. We talked about it last week. Leave us some reviews, 5 stars. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, all that good jazz. Maybe your comment will appear on this show and or prompt change, because we listen to our fans. We do. I promise.
We do. Yeah.
Matt, I think the biggest news this week, and it's funny, Colin and I were talking the other day about, sometimes the news gods giveth and sometimes they taketh. We're now like 5 days after the Michigan penalty. Everyone's already kind of talked about this, but it's one of those that we have to discuss on our show. It's such a weird punishment, I think, overall for the Michigan sign stealing scandal. I don't think we need to go into what actually happened or what, the NCAA surmised happened, but here are the penalties that were levied as a result of all the violations here. And Michigan's appealed, and there's some other stuff still going on with Central Michigan. So this isn't probably going to be the final say, but here's what they levied last week. 4 years of probation for Michigan football, a $50,000 fine plus 10% of the budget for the football program. That adds up pretty quick. Estimates between that and some of the other things here, you say they might end up around $30 million fine. So a fine equivalent to the anticipated loss of all postseason competition revenue sharing associated with the 2025 and 2026 football seasons. A fine equivalent to the cost of 10% of the scholarships awarded in Michigan's football program for the 2025-2026 academic year. So you can see how all that adds up.
Yeah.
25% reduction in official visits for the 2025-2026 season. A 14-week prohibition on recruiting communications during the probation period. And then for the coaches, Connor Stalions, an 8-year show cause order. I don't think he was going to get another coaching job in the NCAA anyway. Jim Harbaugh, a 10-year show cause order. Again, and the guy that I don't think is going to be coaching college football again anyway. Denard Robinson got a 3-year show cause order. Don't know. He'll be back, I'm sure. And then Sharon Moore, a 2-year show cause order, during which he is suspended for a total of 3 games. Not all served at the same time and in different seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt, you're maybe the biased one of the two of us as a fan of the Buckeyes. What do you think of this?
I really don't know what to think. So when they say what the first punishment you gave there, does that mean that they are suspended from going to the postseason completely?
No, I don't.
For 4 years or
no, I don't. There's no avoided games. Obviously, no comment in there about the national championship they already won.
I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. I don't care about that part. I think the vacating wins, Heisman's, national championship, we all know. Like, you can sit here and tell me all day long, we're going to vacate Michigan's, what did they win? This 2013 title, right? We're going to vacate the 2023. Yeah. 2023. Yeah, same thing. I'm tired. 2023 title. We all know who won it. That's not going to change anything. Same thing. The one everybody always brings up, like, right, Reggie Bush. Like, we all knew who won the Heisman. We all kind of viewed him as a Heisman winner. I don't want to say that this is nothing, but I don't know that we'll see how much this might or might not hurt the Michigan program for a couple years. I do think that the fines could mean something, especially obviously in an era of NIL where, yes, I know Michigan's got some pretty big donors, but this has really been the first year that they've really kind of gone all in on some, and most of that was been on one player in Bryce Underwood. I do think, I think there's probably ways around the prohibiting recruiting contact and everything for whatever it is that I'm sure they'll find a way to get around and everything.
Michigan knows a guy that just is really willing to work around the rules. So, yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much that actually matters. I do think the fine could be interesting. And I think it was Tom Fernelli who talked about it on the Cover 3 podcast, that this penalty and the things that they hit Michigan with seem a lot like what the NFL would do to an NFL program, which is kind of where college football is heading. So I think I hear a lot of people talking about the vacated wins, all this stuff, but like, that doesn't do anything to Michigan, because they still have their national championship trophy. All those players still have their national championship rings. They all know they won it. And I will also say, I know we're not going to dive into it and everything and what they actually did, but like, it might have helped them win a couple games, but I really don't think it helped them win the games it took. Like, it did not help them beat Washington and win the national championship. I think they did that just because they were the better team. I'm just going to be honest. I don't think that, at the end of the day, that really is a punishment to anybody. JJ McCarthy's still going to walk around and be like, I'm a national championship, whether they vacated the wins of the national championship or not. So I think that the best place to hit a school and everything right now in this era of college football that we are in is the pocketbooks. I think they could have come down harder on the recruiting side of things. I think that is where you really can hurt a university, whether that is because I didn't hear you say this. I could have swore I've heard other people say that they lost scholarships. I didn't hear you say it, so I don't know if they actually did or didn't. But if they
don't. Yeah, I don't see anything in the actual NCAA release that says they lost scholarships themselves. What they did lose is they have a fine that equals about 10% of the scholarships that were awarded. But as far as I can tell, no because you can just pay guys now. Like, even if you lose scholarships, like it probably doesn't really matter.
I mean, I think that's probably where, and maybe that is what that is, right? They're losing 10% of the scholarships. I mean, maybe there's certain things that go into that. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk about the fact that this is not that much money because of how much money Michigan makes. Michigan's not going to dive into their whatever you want to call it. I believe it's their endowment to pay this fine. This is coming from the football program, among other things. I will be very curious, like I said, to see how this affects them over the next couple of years. And that's kind of where we'll really find out if this was a big enough punishment or not. But look, as you said, I'm a Buckeye fan, and like, do I think that they got an edge sometimes in games? Yes, but like, I also think a lot of teams are doing something similar to this. Michigan was just dumb enough to get caught. That's just the way I'm going to put it. So, I mean, it is what it is. We'll see what happens. I'm not overly upset about it, but I don't think it's nothing. But I do think that it's not nothing, but it's not. I think they could have done more, I guess is the best way to put it. But I don't know enough to say what more is, if I'm being honest.
I have the more for you, Matt, and I think I agree with you on the financial penalties. I think that like you said, that's kind of what really hurts. Yeah. In this day and age, especially because like we were just talking about, scholarships, whatever, you can just pay a bunch of guys and whatever else to walk on and all that kind of crap. So, I think a big financial penalty, if it withstands an appeal, I think is a good start for them. But the other thing is that I think if you come to this level of a determination, you have to vacate the wins in the championship. I know that you're saying that you want. I think you have to do it. You just have to. And the other thing that I think you have to do is I think you have to ban. There has to be some sort of postseason ban.
So that's what I thought was what you were saying with the first part. 4 seasons seems a little heavy if that's what that was. But I mean, if they're not even getting anything, like
they're not getting nothing.
We've seen teams. I know Tennessee did the self-imposed ban of like, we're not going to do anything postseason, because that's where they do get a lot of money from. That part is, I think, a way too light. They should receive some kind of ban. I don't know if 4 years that seems a little much, but like
I would have said 2 years.
Yeah,
I would have said 2 years. Yeah. I think that's significant enough. And I think you had mentioned, you wanted to talk about this, and I wanted to talk about this because I had mentioned something on Twitter about it the other day. people were saying, well, it hurts the current student athletes that weren't
Yeah.
actually there when this happened. That's what the transfer portal is for.
Yeah.
And I think it's lazy to use that as a crutch and an excuse when I'm 98% sure the NCAA has had all the information that they currently have for months.
Yeah.
So you can say, well, now it's too late for them to enter players to enter the transfer portal now. Okay, then you announced this 4 months ago, 5 months ago, when you had all this information already instead of dragging your feet. Or if there was no rush to get it done by then what's the rush to release this punishment last Friday? Wait until the end of the season and then announce it and let players get out of Dodge if they want to get out of Dodge. I think that is one of, financial penalties, but I think the second biggest penalty is some sort of postseason ban or similar type of punishment where players are incentivized to leave your program.
Yeah.
I think those are the two ways that you can really hurt college football programs nowadays. So for me, the fact that they didn't do either of those things, even though I think the financial penalty is right on the nose, and I think that amount sounds very fair without me having their balance sheet in front of me to see, what kind of money is sitting in the coffers. I just think that was light.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't disagree with you on that part. I mean, again, I saw you kind of talking about that on Twitter about, that's what the transfer portal's for. And okay, let's also not pretend that they didn't just randomly put a transfer portal rule in, whatever that was, a year or two ago, that, as soon as this coach leaves, you can now enter, you have 30 days to enter the transfer portal. You can't tell me the NCAA can't be like, hey, every Michigan player, now that we've announced these rules, has 30 days to enter the transfer portal under this special now guideline because we weren't expecting this. But yeah, I mean, the NCAA just sucks at pretty much everything they do. I mean, because it reminds me of, like, again, I know you'll get this. Some other people may not, or watching or listening may not. It reminds me a lot of, I was listening to a podcast today talking about different stuff with the EPL, and they're talking about the fact that we still have not found out about the charges for Man City, even though they know everything. They have everything they need to know. They still have it. It's the same thing with Michigan, right? Like, yeah, there's nothing you have learned, likely probably in the last year, that you didn't already know. Why didn't you just release it at the end of last season or whenever? Like, going into, why in a dead period where you're trying to keep all, well, I guess maybe not March because of March Madness, after March Madness is over, because you don't want to take away from that or whatever, but still.
Well, I think you have to do it right around spring.
Yeah.
So if guys want to leave, they could have gone and gotten a spring in, or, at least like a summer and everything with the school. Like, obviously, doing it last week, I get why that's untenable, but that's why it shouldn't have been done last week. It should have even been done 4 months ago, or it should have been done 6 months from now. It didn't need to be done last Friday.
Yeah. Well, it's a typical, that's what the NFL does all the time too, right? It's a typical news dump. It's that we're going to drop this on Friday afternoons, hope nobody pays attention to it. They'll get a little bit of run out of it over the weekend, and then come Monday, everybody forgets about it, and everybody can kind of move on with their business. So that's what the NFL does too. They're just taking another page out of the NFL's book, is my guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's all I really have on it. I also think the Sharon Moore stuff is just a joke. Like, the way they've structured that penalty is just stupid.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they've done. They did that recently too. What was it? Harbaugh, when Harbaugh was suspended, it was like weeks 1 and 2, and then whatever later in the year. I don't get. I have no thought, no opinions on that. Do whatever you want.
And I will say, I think I would have maybe less qualms about crushing a school like Michigan because in the report they basically say none of these people cooperated. In fact, they were the opposite of cooperative. They were combative the whole time. They were destroying evidence. And there's it's called spoliation or something like that. It's this in the law. There's this presumption that if you are involved in some sort of litigation and you destroy evidence, it's presumed that whatever you destroyed was incriminating, but it worked against your interest, and that's why you destroyed it. And so if you are caught doing that, you automatically it's assumed that evidence did exist, even if you crushed your phone or whatever. There was nothing that actually would have gotten you in trouble on it. The fact that you did it means that we can now assume that there was something on there. I don't know why that there was not some sort of because I think in this sense it's very obvious that there was incriminating or whatever, stuff on there that was not good for them. So
yeah. Well, I mean, what did they said that he went in there like full on admitted that he did. That's the thing that actually gets me. I'll dive into the Sharon Moore thing for a minute because this part is what, like, according to what, if I'm remembering listening to this correctly, not only did they find out that he deleted the text messages between him, but then like full on admitted, yeah, I just deleted them. Like, what are you gonna do about it? And your best thing was like, we're gonna give you a 2-year show cause, but you still get to keep your job. You can still keep coaching. You can still keep coaching that team up north. And we're only going to suspend you for these games against like Austin P, Western Michigan. Oh, and you don't get to travel to Ireland next year. But you'll be here for all the major games of Michigan. You still get a chance to make it into the playoffs, Big Ten championship, all this other stuff. It's complete asinine. It's ridiculous. And yeah, I'm sorry. That's just stupid. If you want to give the guy a 2-year show cause, because give him a 2-year show cause. He can't coach for the next 2 years. And then if someone wants to hire him after that, give him his opportunity. But I think that, yeah, that part's just stupid, especially because of that. If it was just I don't know that you'd believe him anyways, like oopsie daisies. I didn't mean to delete those text messages, and I did. But the fact that he was so brazen about, yes, I did it, like, I don't know. I wish I could use that. Cop pulls me over and be like, hey, yeah, I did. What are you going to do about it? Oh, I'm getting a ticket.
As you throw a half full beer can out the passenger side window. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah,
can't prove I was drinking that. Yeah,
taking you to jail. That's what they're gonna do. But yeah, it's just it's ridiculous. And again, there's a part of me that is glad that is actually happening because I think it's just continuing to push this into a place where, again, I don't know that we'll ever have like an actual college football commissioner, but I think we're getting to a place where at some point college football will be running itself because at this point, again, as I said earlier, like the NCAA is just a joke at this point. And this right here is farcical with what they're doing with some of this stuff. Again, I don't disagree with the money part, but like some of the other stuff they're doing is just absolutely sad and pathetic. And I cannot wait to see. I don't know that an actual college football commissioner would punish Michigan in any sort of way. You would think they would for quote unquote integrity of the league, but who knows at this point.
Matt, you and I host The Official together. If people that are watching or listening to this show do not listen to The Official, it is on the Campus to Canton podcast network. I would say give it a try if you like high school recruiting. We look at it, as Matt eloquently says in the intro every week, through the lens of college fantasy. So a little bit different than pretty much every other recruiting show out there. And I think if you listen to that show, which we were not the hosts of last cycle, in fairness, Alfred and a big wide receiver guy and David were, and they talked a lot about how strong the 2025 freshman quarterback class was. And we agreed, as rankers, as members of our recruiting team, and obviously now as the hosts of the show, I think we held that opinion as well. And the reason I'm talking about this is because 2 more freshman quarterbacks were officially named starters within the past couple of days. Bear Bachmeier at BYU. We've talked about him on several different shows on the network here over the past couple of weeks. Kind of came out of nowhere with Jake Retzloff leaving BYU there to take that job. And then Jaron Kiave Sagapula-Tele at Cal also has been officially named the starter over Devin Brown there. That brings our freshman, our definite starting freshman count in week 1 of this college football season to 4.
Mm-hmm.
Bear Bachmeier, JKS, Malik Washington at Maryland, and Bryce Underwood at Michigan. There may be a 5th, Julian Lewis, at some point this season at Colorado.
Yeah.
We shall see. I think Salter's going to get the week 1 start regardless, veteran deference, which is, fine with me. I mean, is this going to be potentially a generational college quarterback class? I'm not talking about like NFL prospects down the line, although certainly, the more of these guys you're stacking up as true freshmen, the likelier that is that guys are going to get some good draft capital here. But I mean, do you think we are potentially treading into that territory this year?
I don't know about generational. Specifically because, like, out of all the ones that you named, I think JKS is probably the only one that I think, like, I would bet on, at least of the ones you named, has, like, I think could have an NFL future. Now, Bryce
Underwood.
My bad. Bryce Underwood. There's two of them.
I was wondering which direction you were going to go with that.
Sorry.
I was like,
yeah. I do like JKS those. Well, Bryce Underwood, yes. I mean, well, things could really collapse on him in Michigan here, but I do think that he does. So I don't know. I would like to see, because I don't think at this point, like, Keelan will probably start. I do think Keelan will start some point. I just think Ty Simpson's bad. So I think Keelan will get to some point. I don't think we'll see Taven St. Clair. Don't think we'll see Deuce Knight. Who am I forgetting? I know I'm missing a name here.
Hussein Zollers.
Oh, I think we'll see Hussein too. I don't think we'll see Zollers. It sounds like they're just going to go with the poopiest out of Bo Prabula and Sam Horn. So, or the non-poopiest, I guess is the best way to put it.
Bryce Baker.
Who's starting for North? Have they announced who's starting for North Carolina?
I don't know if they've officially said Gio Lopez, but I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be Gio Lopez week 1.
Yeah, I mean, if we see, I would like to check in on this toward the end of the year to see how many we actually have starting. Because I think, yes, in that aspect it would. If we're talking about just these 5, I mean, I do think it's going to be anyways. We talked a lot about it on the official, right? I mean, again, I know you mentioned we weren't the host of the show last year, but we did do like a wrap-up of that class this year on the official, and you can go find that on there. And that's kind of what we talked about, is what really kind of made that draft class this year was the quarterbacks and how deep it went into, as you mentioned, a guy like Zollers, who, like, I was higher on than the rest of the team, but you guys all had him like in a decent range. And it's a guy's like, okay, like he's got the tools, maybe could be something. Like, we went pretty far down our quarterback list of guys that we thought could be something in there. So at the end of the day, yes, I guess I would say I do think it has a chance to be generational. I mean, how many times have we had 4 or 5 quarterbacks drafted in, say, the first round? It's been a couple years.
A couple of times. Yeah. A couple of times it's happened.
Can I point out one thing about that really quick? I'm just gonna, since Felix isn't here, one of us needs to, I hate doing this. It's not my thing. I really hate, talking about me being right. But I distinctly remember probably 2 years ago when we talked about this playoff expanding, someone who might or might not rhyme with the name of Matt Bruening talking about how we will see more and more freshmen starting because these coaches have more wiggle room now, and the fact they do not have to be perfect every single week. And I'm looking at you, Nate Marquise. You kicked back at me in the Slack channel, and so I'm pretty sure so did you, Austin. But I'm really looking at you, Nate, because Nate, you decided to overwhelm me with all these facts and evidence about it was like only Bo Nix at that point in time who did it, which is fair because they were true. But I got you now, buddy, because they are going to the freshmen. I think it's going to continue. I really do think. I really hope we don't expand to the 16 thing that I heard the other day, or 24.
24. Yeah, we're talking 20.
Please not. Please
Screw
no.
16, Matthew. We're going beyond that already.
Please no. But I really think that, again, and I said it at the time, I really thought that this was going to give those coaches a little bit more wiggle room in the fact that, again, and I think I talked about it on one of my parting shots. It was one of my favorite parting shots that I ever did. I took a long time to write that bad boy down and talking about how it's ridiculous that we're asking these 18 to 20 something plus year old kids to be perfect every single week to win a national championship. It's the only sport in the entire world that we ask them to do that of. And again, 18-year-olds, but whatever. I'll find that parting shot and repost it on X. And so that's what I also talked about the freshman thing. So I love it. I'm all for it. I think that we will see. Bryce Baker was a good call by you. I didn't really think about him. I think him, if I had to put money on it, I would say him, Longstreet, and I think Keelan Russell we will see at some point in time this year. I think all 3 of the quarterbacks ahead of them are, I don't want to say not good enough, but I think if struggle enough, well, Bill's not on the hot seat, but I think Bill will just make a move because Bill doesn't care. So
I'm going to push back a little bit.
Go ahead.
Because I don't think any of these guys starting has anything to do with that premise, that there's more wiggle room for any of these teams.
Tell me why I'm wrong.
Who else would Michigan start?
They started random dudes who sucked last year.
Over who else was there though? This is what I'm saying.
Okay, let's hang on. Let's pull on the one straw that makes sense on.
No,
let's go to Cal.
No. I can do this for all of them. Cal's not competing for a national championship.
And you can still start Devin Brown.
Neither is Maryland.
You could still start. I don't know. I honestly don't know who else is there.
Neither is BYU probably.
BYU is a very specific situation.
That every single one of these, I don't think you can point to a single one of them and say that they are gambling, that it's a good team that's gambling because they have some wiggle room. Now, not to say that couldn't happen in the
but
future, and I do think there are some scenarios in which these types of schools starting a true freshman could still be the result of that, because if Maryland and BYU had really good quarterbacks that were poached by a playoff team, and so this is their response to that, then we can maybe start vaulting into that territory. But yeah, I don't think any of these that we just talked about fit that category.
Disagree.
If Tavian St. Clair was starting this week, I think that would fit the definition, but he's not.
Disagree. And I'm glad that you brought that up. So I will say that in that scenario, Michigan and BYU are the only two that I will give you credence on, however you want to put it. Because I don't even know. No, they brought in Mikey Keene. Mikey Keene can play. Granted, he's not Bryce Underwood. No. This is my time. This is my time. They brought in Mikey Keene. They have a veteran there. Now, BYU is its own separate thing. I mean, Jake Retzlaff, I don't know, whatever. We're not going to dive into that, but he's no longer there. They were kind of put in that situation. Fair. Every single one of those other teams, though, has a veteran. And my argument at that time was, and we've seen that in the past, and I think this is why I never thought Taven St. Clair would actually start, because Ryan Day will do this to the day he dies, I would guarantee. Even if they brought in the reincarnation of Patrick Mahomes at quarterback at freshman, they're still going to be like, I'm going to start this guy who's been with me for 3 years because he knows how to run my system. He's not going to run through turnovers, whatever. They go to that veteran deference. They always do. We've seen that for years and years in college football. And that was the argument that me and Nate kept kicking back and forth on. That's why he kept throwing Bo Nix in my face. The only one who's ever done it was Bo Nix at that time. I can't remember. There's been someone who started in between there. But that's just when at the time there had only been Bo Nix, I believe, who had started as like a true freshman quarterback. I think that those teams now are no longer afraid to just be like, we're going to put the freshmen out there and see what happens. I'm not saying Cal's competing for a national championship. I disagree with you on Michigan thinking they might. They're not. They can go to the playoffs now, apparently. So why not think you can? I mean, granted, you were whatever your god-awful record was last year, but you beat the national champions in their home. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember if it was at the Big House or at the Shoe last year. But
who was the experienced veteran at Maryland?
I already told you I don't know. I know who it is, but like the name is not popping in my head. He transferred in.
Yeah, it's the dude that came over from UCLA.
God, I can't. Why can't I?
You know who I'm talking, but not an experienced
I probably
player.
do. It's up here. I just don't remember.
Who's the experienced? Justin Martin.
He's got more experience than Malik Washington.
Who's not by much? Who's the experienced veteran now?
Devin Brown. Devin Brown is starting.
How many games did Devin Brown start? One?
More than JKS.
One.
That is more than JKS.
There is no actual veteran on those teams.
There is. Devin Brown's okay. Look, he may not have started that many games. Devin Brown's been in college for 10 years.
You also can't call what Devin Brown was doing playing quarterback. Because it was not playing quarterback by any standards that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree, but he's still been. We've seen them do this in the past, where teams have gone to a guy and be like, there's no reason this guy should. We've had those arguments for years. There's no reason this player should be starting over this freshman. And it's happened over the past couple of years, including UCLA. Colin Schley and the Dante Moore debate was where it really got heated for a lot of us at the company. And you and Moxley battled against me and Felix on that I feel like it was every C2C
Mox
live
and
show.
I were correct, by the way, because we said Colin Schley would start week one.
No, he started week
one. That's what we were arguing.
Dante Moore started week one. Dante Moore started from the beginning. Yes, he did.
No, he did not. Look it up.
Pull it up. Okay.
Dante Moore did not start week one. Colin Schley did.
I'm pulling it up right now. Continue.
Please. This is a good time to ask. Somebody in the chat said, do you think Bear Bachmeier, true freshman quarterback at BYU, can be a best ball play? Yes, we're not the underdog guys. We don't really, if you're talking specifically underdog, he's a free or was. I'm sure he still doesn't cost anything, like fifth quarterback. I don't know what the bye weeks are or anything like that. But yeah, I think I'd be happy taking him, mixing him in with a smattering of other fifth quarterback guys, and maybe you get a week or two out of them. I don't know if their plan is to pass the ball a ton. He does have some rush upside, but not, again, a ton. And they might not want to run him a lot anyway. So maybe, yeah. I wouldn't be like, drafting him like crazy. But
the first game
Colin Schley started
of 2023, 9-2 was against Coastal Carolina. Right now, all I'm seeing is stats for just Dante Moore in that game, but I'm trying to actually find here. Let's see here. Yeah, why is it not pulling up my game logs? Let's see here. He was 7 for 12. Oh my God, I'll just type in Colin Schlee. This is great radio, by the way.
This is really, really good.
I like how Colin Schlee doesn't even pull up in this thing. Maybe I'm typing his name in wrong. How do you spell his first name?
Colin. It's 2 L's.
L-L-I-N. Gotcha. Okay.
Although I have a hard time believing with such a specific last name that like 1 L Colin Schlee wouldn't pull up for you on Google, but these getting specific on these.
So would you like to know the first game that Colin Schlee started?
Yes. Am I wrong?
It was against San Diego State, which was week 2. And I don't even know if he started. No, he had 1 completion for 2 attempts. Week 2. You know who had 7 for 12 in week 1? No, he didn't play until week 2.
That's what did he get hurt?
No, he was 2 attempts, 4 attempts, 1, 5, 18, 16. That's what he did. Those are the only games he played in. You know who played week 1 and started? Dante Moore, folks. Because that's what Felix and I said. I remembered that specifically because it wasn't just you and Mox. It was Jared. It was Nate. It was everybody who was riding along. I was gonna say a derogatory statement there. Riding along with Colin Schlee and be like, he's our hero because he was so amazing at Kent State. And the argument me and Felix had was, yes, that's great that he was great at Kent State. And he does have starting experience. But he transferred over to UCLA the same time Dante Moore did. So they are both learning that playbook. The only thing he has over Dante Moore is that he started college football games. And we've seen coaches lean into that, except for then. And that's when it started, baby. That was when the tide started turning in Matty B's favor. Ever since 2023, it's been my favorite year of my entire life in existence. It's when I started being right about all kinds of things. There's only one player I think that might have played in that game. One other quarterback. I haven't had a chance to look it up yet. I just wanted to go on my rant because
It was Garbers, actually. Garbers started 11 games. It might have been Garbers. Schlee might have gotten hurt.
He didn't get hurt. He got beat out. That's it. It's end of story. I remember. I will never forget my wins. So Garbers did play in that game. I don't know who got the actual start. They had pretty much the same. They both had the same amount of passes, 17. He was 10 of 17. I don't
considering UCLA scored in the first quarter with 12:56 left on an Ethan Garbers pass to Carson Ryan. I'm going to think that it was Ethan Garbers. So it was not. But Moore did not start week 1.
I don't know.
I can't believe we just wasted like 10 minutes of this show doing this.
That's all right. Who started for UCLA? ChatGPT, help me out here. Who started for UCLA?
Right, while you're talking to Robot,
Coastal Carolina,
I'm going to move on here.
You do that.
All right. I think I'm going to move on to the next topic as a whole. So if
let's do it. Okay with you. Okay. I'm listening.
Next up here, let's talk. Well, I don't know. The Quentin Joyner injury. Quentin Joyner going to be out for the season with a torn ACL.
Okay. Can I real quick? We'll get back to Joyner. Ask ChatGPT. Who started for UCLA against Coastal Carolina in 2023? In UCLA's 2023 game against Coastal Carolina, both Dante Moore and Ethan Garbers played quarterback. Initially, Garbers was named the starter. However, Chip Kelly. Was it Chip Kelly? It was not Chip Kelly, was it? It was Chip Kelly.
That was
Chip
his
Kelly
last year.
Played Moore, who had a strong performance, including 2 touchdown passes. Ultimately, Moore led the team to a 27-13 victory. So all I read there is that Dante Moore was the best quarterback, likely started. So again, I think my point is still valid. Still valid. We didn't talk about Ethan Garbers. It was Dante Moore versus Colin Schlee, and that's all that matters there.
Yeah, I think Schlee was hurt.
Boom,
that
roasted.
is my recollection now.
I don't think. He played in week 2.
He did. I don't know. It might have been a concussion.
Sure. Everybody's got a concussion at this point.
You got a concussion this episode, man. I just listened to you rant over here. Man.
I do. All right, anyways, Quentin Joyner tears his ACL, unfortunately.
Yeah. Do you think that we see him start next? Like, does he come back to Texas Tech and start next year?
I mean,
plant your flag now on this prediction.
I want to say yes because I still think, regardless of Dickey and I'm forgetting the other running back's name,
Jacoby Williams.
Obviously Williams and Dickey are going to get a lot of run. We're not going to see Joyner this year. He's not at Clemson, right? So we won't see him by week 2. He'll probably be out the entire year. But I do think that Joyner's still much more talented than both of those. What's it? Dickey's got what, 3 years left? How much does
They both do. Williams and Dickey were
do
both
they?
true freshmen last year.
Wow. Golly, I don't know then. I want to say yes just because they paid him so much money to go there. But now it's just kind of 3 years. I mean, maybe he does just transfer out at this point. I mean, is he going to end up being like man, who's that running back that we really liked? The same thing happened. He transferred up from the G5, like got injured, which I'm describing like a million running backs right now in college football. Right now. I'm trying to remember the name of where he transferred because he was Parker Jenkins. It's like Parker Jenkins, like he transferred. We thought, hey, was going to be really good.
Oh no, it wasn't Jenkins. It was the dude at Houston.
Yes,
before
and he ended up at Arizona State. Yes, okay, yeah. So we're getting there. We're getting there, folks. I remember he ended up at Arizona State. And he had to keep transferring because he couldn't stay healthy. I really hope that doesn't happen to Quentin Joyner because I do think he's a super talented. Look, I'm making my camera all fuzzy. I'm jumping around so much. I really hope that doesn't happen. But I mean, if Dickey and Williams go out there and have a good year, I find it very hard to believe that Joyner just comes back and gets the starting job at that point, despite them again paying him a lot of money to come there.
It was Alton McCaskill.
That's it. Back. Yeah, Alton McCaskill.
Yeah. Had a really nice freshman year there. It's going to be really interesting because I do think that Williams and Dickey are both good. And I know people are harping on Williams. I do think people forget a little bit. Like, yeah, Williams was more effective in that bowl game last year, but they split those carries 50-50 between the two of them. And over the course of the season, they essentially were exactly the same, Williams and Dickey, from like an efficiency standpoint and stuff. I think the real interesting thing is going to be, do they think that Jacoby Williams is an every down back, or do they view him as more of a supplement to whoever the main guy is? Because he is, 185, 190 pounds, Joyner over 200, Dickey about 210, 215. So like, if that's more the role they have for him, I do think that, he's a little more explosive than Dickey and probably a better receiver, although Dickey is a pretty good receiver too. He's just not as dangerous in the open field. So I think if both those guys are good, I am just really interested to see. I mean, he can't go to the NFL.
Yeah.
He got a little bit of run last year, and that was it. Like, you can't go to the NFL off of 80 touches or whatever as a sophomore behind Woody Marks and get drafted with any sort of reasonable draft capital. So I think he has to play again. I just it'll be interesting to see how that duo plays out and how good they look. Martin asked in the chat, Austin, were you the one who was high on Cameron Dickey last year? I don't want to say like high. He was my RB 49. But I did have him in a very similar bucket, actually, with the four players directly in front of him were Peyton Lewis, Jaden Ball, Yassine Willis, and Cameron Dickey. They were all guys that were just undraftable for me, and I basically said, like, their watch list, I don't know what these backfields are going to look like. But if they open up, like, these are the kind of players that I would be interested in. Jacoby Williams, actually, a handful of spots higher with a grade that was very, very similar. Like, I didn't have anything really separating those guys. Dylan Jones was actually in that group as well. So, I thought they were all good players. I wouldn't say that I was high on Dickey, but midway through the year, I did say I thought he was probably, a player that could lead a backfield. So we'll see if they end up letting him do that or not. I don't have a good feel on it. I don't want to be presumptive and just say Jacoby Williams is the guy now. So I don't know that that's necessarily their plan. And then O says Dickey probably gets the red zone touches. I would assume to start. We'll see what it ends up looking like. Do you have any feeling on that, Matt? I mean, he's big and he's pretty good in the tackles in 215-ish. So,
yeah, I mean, I would think that they probably lean on him if they decide to run the ball a ton when they get down into the red zone. I would think that that's who they lean on, unless they're trying to do some kind of like quick pass out to the flat. Then I would assume they go to Williams. But if you're asking me if I had to pick one, I'd lean Dickey right now for getting the red zone touches.
All right. Any of the jobs officially won this week that you want to talk about, Matt? CJ Carr, Julian Sayin, Drew Mestemaker at North Texas, I think, was probably the most surprising of those three. Any comments? Care to comment on those, Matthew?
Yeah, we can talk about all of them. Julian Sayin is what it is. I don't feel great about that from Ohio State's perspective. I was talking about this with I did a show with the South Harmon guys yesterday, talking about like the upcoming college football season. Hey, who you should be watching and whatnot. We brought up that Ohio State versus Texas game in week 1. I think Texas is likely gonna. I don't know that I would say smash Ohio State, but I think Texas is going to win that pretty easily. Just don't think that Sayin is going to really elevate that offense much, but we'll see what happens. I don't think that they'll move off of him fairly quickly. CJ Carr, I mean, I said I named him as my flag plan. I think that he's going to end up having a good season, not because I think CJ Carr is overly talented. That's more a bet on Mike Denbrock and just what he's been able to do with quarterbacks that I think you could argue are, less than talented outside of Jaden Daniels. I don't think that he's had a quarterback. I mean, I love Desmond Ridder, and I think he was lucky. He was lucky that he got drafted in the 3rd round. So, and I think the CJ Carr, look, Ridder had like a very strong arm. I don't know where it comes in on the velo scale. I think it's like 56, 57, which I think Carr's is at 55. So he's not much behind Desmond Ridder, but accuracy wise and just kind of overall quarterback polish, he's much better than Desmond Ridder. So I think that he will be fine. Mestemaker is the one that is interesting to me, right? He only played in the bowl game, right? Or did he play toward the end of the year as well? I can't remember.
I believe it was just the bowl game. At least that was the only start that he had. Yeah.
Comes in, plays in the bowl game. I mean, it was a good bowl game, too, from what I remember. Didn't he have like that 60-yard touchdown run in that game as well, breaking tackles for that? Look, I know that there's a lot of people here. If I remember correctly, Mox, Felix both liked Reese Poffenbarger. I don't know that his dream is dead of starting in the Power 4 or G5, but I mean, it's not great to get beat out by a guy who I believe has not started a game outside of that bowl game since his 9th grade year in high school. So it's going to be very interesting to see what he does. I mean, I know Chris is very high on him. Have we dropped him on the website yet?
Have we dropped Poffenbarger?
No, the projections yet for week 1.
They're not dropped yet. They will probably be in the next 2 to 3 days here. I know Chris is they're done. Chris is just doing the back end, plug it into the website.
So that's what I was going to mention, because like they're done and he's got a pretty good projection for Mestemaker in week 1. He might have put that. I might have seen him actually drop that on X. So I was trying to pull up his thing right now to see if he did, and I don't know, Chris tweets a lot, so he did put his projections for, and it's nice. So I'm excited to see what Mestemaker can do. I got him in a bunch of my C2C leagues. This year was one of the quarterbacks that I ended up taking pretty late, so I'm excited. I hope that he's able to kind of replicate what he was able to do in that bowl game.
Yeah, I mean, they chucked the ball around a ton. I mean, last year, I think was let me look how many attempts they had. Chandler Morris attempted 500 passes. Yeah, like I mean, there's not a lot of offenses that are going to chuck the ball around as much as that, and Mestemaker has some legs too. So I think like you just mentioned, he had that long touchdown run. I think he actually walked on as a safety, or attempted to initially at North Texas as a safety. So like that there's some athleticism there. Does he always want to use it? I don't think we have enough of a sample size to really get that much more specific than that, but it's certainly something that he can do. So I do think I think that's interesting for us, for our purposes, probably more than the other two. I will just say the one that actually like intrigues me the most is the CJ Carr one. And we talked a little bit about, I think, the Notre Dame battle last week and stuff. So we don't necessarily need to have the same conversation we had last week, but this does almost feel like a case to me where I think it actually, unlike some of these, I think it was a legitimate battle, or at least even if the coach staff already had already decided that it was going to be Carr, and they were looking for a reason and some practices to justify that decision that had already been made, which I don't blame staffs for doing that, for the record. There's a lot of reasons why staff would do that. But if that's the case here, it took a really long time for Carr to give them that justification, to the point where I'm wondering if it actually happened. Yeah. In reality. I just think that's really interesting, because that's what that situation feels like to me. And so if I'm a Notre Dame fan, I don't feel great about that announcement that he's starting. I don't feel great about rolling him out there week 1. Now, I don't think Miami's going to have a great defense this year, but it's not going to be bad. They're going to have athletic dudes out there. I think it's going to be really interesting. And they play Texas A&M week 2. And I can guarantee you A&M is going to be all over his week 3.
Second game, but they have a bye in between there. It's week 3, but still, that's Mike Elko is they're going to be ready to go.
Elko's going to blitz out the butt that entire game. We snap one, they're going to have 8 dudes in the box.
Yeah.
Because Carr is not a mobile guy. We have yet to see him in this kind of setting against college level athletes. I mean, I there's a real chance that he's in hell and by like the second drive in that like just totally overmatched. So I just think it's going to be, and not that I think Minchie is necessarily better. I think he's a little different. I think the amount of mobility that Minchie has is being overstated. I think
that's fair.
I have some guesses as to the reason why people say that CJ Carr is the pocket guy and Minchie is the not pocket guy, but we don't need to have that discussion right now either. But I just I think that it's a very low floor play, very low level of quarterback play that they're going to get out of their quarterbacks this year. And so I think they're really going to need to lean on that run game, which, I mean, they have the stable of running backs to do that.
Yeah, I mean, and that the thing with Carr is, I mean, they have a tough schedule. When you're just talking about it from a defensive perspective, right? Like, again, I don't disagree with you. Miami's defense is probably not going to be as good as it has been, but you still got Cristobal, who's going to have a fairly good defense. You get Texas A&M with Mike Elko in week 3. Purdue, fine, whatever. Arkansas, I mean, still, and it's at Arkansas. I think that could be a tough defense. Boise State, whatever. But NC State typically has a very good defense under, forgetting the head coach's name at the moment, but he always typically has a good defense. I mean, USC, regardless, probably won't have a good defense, but rivalry game, you never know what's going to happen. Boston College is what is. Navy, you can tell me if Pitt has a good defense, but then Syracuse played good defense last year under Fran Brown as well, and then they end at Stanford. But I don't know. Like I said, for me, the reason I took the bet on CJ Carr had more to do with Mike Denbrock than CJ Carr's talent. I talked about it, I think, when we talked about the flag plants last week. It's like I really wanted it to be a marrying of the two like it was last year in Kenny Dillingham with Sam Levitt's talent. I don't think Carr is that talented. I think he's talented enough to be fine, and I think Denbrock will do enough to get the best out of him. They're going to have a good offensive line. They've got Jeremiah Love behind him. I mean, I think that behind that line, I'm sorry. I think that they'll be fine overall. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. The only fear I have with the quote unquote announcement of it being Carr right now is like, you could, I guess the argument you could make on the other side of that is exactly what the rumors are at Ohio State, is that there's legitimately nobody behind Carr, so they didn't want Minchie to leave. So it's like, oh, we're going to keep this open as long as we can. Now, granted, I don't know. I believe at least a lot of the reports sound like, again, that Carr and Minchie were literally like there was nothing separating the two. And that's all the reports about Sayin and Kine holds, too. So you could make the same argument against Ohio State and be like, well, it's not great that Julian Sayin has not been able to beat out this guy who's been here for 3 years. And granted, I think if you're looking at the two players, you would say Kineholz has a higher ceiling than Minchie just based on his athletic tools that we thought he had coming out of high school. But again, I think you could talk about putting both those two in the same bucket and be like, would it really shock you if at one point in time this year, say week 7, week 8, also we're looking up and it's Lincoln Kineholz starting for Ohio State because they've lost 2 games, and it's Kenny Minchie starting for Notre Dame because they've lost 2 games? It would not shock me in the slightest.
Martin asked in the chat real quick, is Bryce Baker going to end up being the guy at UNC? Yeah, I mean, I think we're projected by the end of the season he could be that. Has Underwood been named at Michigan? Nobody's taking all the snaps with the ones in practice. So they haven't announced anything, but he will be. So that's that as well. Arch Manning was the last topic I wanted to cover here tonight, Matt. And I think every smart aleck out there, anytime you talk about the 2027, 2028 quarterback classes, has something to say about Arch. Definitely not coming out this year or blah, 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 blah. And he's definitely going back, despite no word from Arch ever in this topic ever. And really the only time
Arch did kick back on it.
We're getting there.
Okay, sorry.
That's the assumption everybody's been making with nothing coming out of Arch's mouth ever on this topic.
Yeah.
Archie, who is Peyton and their
Papa.
Dad, so keep track of all this very similar names here. Archie came out and said that he thinks that he'll stay in college 2 years. I don't have the direct quote in front of me. I should have pulled that up. I'm a bad host, but Arch came out and said that's not necessarily accurate. He hasn't thought about it yet. We'll see how this season goes.
Yeah.
Now, I think, that's probably a little bit of a lie, but we've talked about this. If he has a really awesome season, I don't think there's necessarily anything stopping him, from coming out. He can make as much money in college. I mean, yes, but he could also make guess what? A lot of money in the NFL, and he'll probably get way bigger endorsement deals in the NFL just by the nature of being an NFL player, signing a shoe deal or whatever else. So I just, for everybody that he's a 27 quarterback, I mean, yes, but you have to talk about him within the context of 2026 because it is possible that he comes out this year.
Yeah, so I have the direct quote. He said it was him doing a press conference for Texas, and he said, "I don't know where he got that from. I'm really just taking it day by day right now." That's what he said on it, which is fine. That's the media training at its finest, right? For a college athlete and any athlete. But yeah, I agree. I had this conversation with the South Harmon guys, with Eric Vanek last night on America's Game, and the question was, he said the same thing. He's like, all the rumors say that he's going to stay for 2 years. I'm like, Texas is favored to win the national championship this year. If he does go and do that, like, the only thing that's possibly getting him to come back is, you could possibly repeat. But do you want to risk? And granted, he doesn't need the money, but do you really want to risk your possible future career on coming back to win and possibly repeat instead of just going? If he takes Texas to a national championship and wins it, I'm not going to tell you he's going to be 1-1 because we don't know what Lenora Sellers is going to do. I think he's probably going to be the main one who competes with him for that top pick. He'll be a top 5 draft pick. People can say whatever they want, that it's a last name or thing. No, Arch is a good quarterback. We haven't really got a chance to see it. And it is something I'm very intrigued to see is what he does this year. I talked about it on that show. You really go back and look at it, outside of the times that he started when Quinn was hurt. Every time Sark brought him in, he literally just ran the ball. It made me wonder if Sark was afraid to have Arch throw, which I know is not the truth because he threw it enough in the games that he started. But if he does go out there and does all that, like, he'll go to the draft. He's not coming back just to he doesn't have that connection to Texas like Vince Young did, if that makes sense, right? Or Matt Leinart to USC. Like, I don't see any reason. It's not like his alma mater, his family didn't go there, anything like that. He has no reason to come back and try and take Texas to back-to-back championships. He'll probably go to the NFL draft. So I think I agree with you. A lot of people are talking about it like it's this foregone conclusion that, hey, he's not coming out this year, so that next draft class is going to be loaded when you have guys like Arch and all. And, like, we don't know that. Arch could come out this year with, again, a very good crop with, like, Lenora Sellers. I mean, I know people still – Carson Beck, Klubnik, Hoover, Drew Alar is what it is. But I mean, Dante Moore, Avery Johnson, like, this could be a very intriguing draft class. I think Arch could still be a headliner in it, depending on what he does this year.
Yeah, I just think there's scenarios, and I think you just probably covered most, if not all of them, where he would come out. So I don't, do I think it's probably more likely that he comes out in 2027? Sure, but I think, speaking in absolutes, as they say on Star Wars, maybe not warranted in this case or many others. So, I think that's going to be the final word here tonight, though, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and apologies to Kirk Herbstreit. We ran out of time. We'll get him rescheduled next week. Make sure you're checking out everything over at campustocanton.com, especially with the season right around the corner. Or sign up for a membership. If you like what you see, all sorts of different data and stuff in there. Martin asked you guys doing the Saturday morning show. We're not doing it for week 0, but we will be doing it, every Saturday this year, same time, 2 hours before 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll have a good crew in there talking, the usual stuff. So, I think that's it, guys. We catch you next time. Good night and good luck.